Okay, so welcome to our final week here of assignments and things. This is my third attempt at doing this. The first two attempts didn't work from my cabin, so I drove into Longville, Minnesota, and I'm sitting at a parking lot in front of a library using their Wi-Fi. So if you hear vehicles or rain or something weird, that's probably what's going on. I'm going to introduce this idea of an action matrix to you and hopefully give you some good decision making skills as you move forward. It can be a bit overwhelming as we try to navigate all these difficult waters of environmental issues and personal issues in life as well. So, wanted to kind of give you something that was extremely important to me growing up. So, credit is due to this guy, Greg Craven. He is a high school science teacher. He put together this video a long time ago in 2007. It's turned into about 20 million views. A book's been done off of it, lots of TED Talks, scientific discussions, etc. So, total credit given to him here. I'm actually using his example, and I think it's a really good one. So, want to just roll through that. All right, so the action matrix looks something like this. You have a topic, you have an action, and you have validity. So those are the three main components. The topic is just your topic that you choose. For me, for my example, I'm going to use global climate change, but there's other topics that could be used as well, and we'll discuss that later. So I put global climate change up here, and then we move forward. The action. So what you have to do is you have to put the topic into a question format. What can you do about it? What's the action that you could do? Typically, you can either choose to act or not to act. Those are going to be the kind of stark differences between those two. For this example, we can either do something about climate change. We can say, yes, we're going to do something, or we can say, we're not going to do anything. We're going to have no action. So that's what I'm going to put in my columns over here. So yes and no action. All right. The validity is the most important part, and what it does is it removes the belief from the argument. Typically, arguments over anything, you're just trying to convince the other person that they're wrong or that you're right. And what this does is it basically removes that argument and says, all right, both of us might be right. We have to accept that reality that equal validity must be given to both arguments. And then we back off and we say, okay, so let's play this out. So you're no longer trying to convince the other side that you're right. What you're just basically saying is, okay, you might be right. Let's see what happens. So for global climate change, we can simplify the debate into the concerns are either true or the concerns are false. So like all the alarmists, the global climate change scientists that are saying we have to do we have to do something, we have to do this. These things are going to happen. These either they're going to be true or they're going to be false. We simplify it into that. So either it's a reality or it's not. So we say true and false here on our rows. So true and false. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to start filling in these boxes with possible predictable outcomes, and we have to make some guesses at what those things might be, but at the same time, they can be educated guesses. So for this upper left-hand box here, what we're going to assume is that society decided to take significant steps to stop global climate change, but the concerns of climate change were false. So we decided to do a bunch about it, and we made all kinds of big changes, but we didn't need to because it turns out all the scientists' predictions were wrong. And so, what would be the future? What would be the predictable outcome of that? Well, first of all, it would have cost a lot of money, trillions of dollars. Probably put us into a global recession. Probably put us into difficult situations politically and economically. But at the same time, we would end up with some better conditions. Our water quality, air quality, our energy sources would be better, etc. So I just put down these kind of concepts here. It would definitely be an uncomfortable change for most of humanity because we'd have to change so many things. But there are some positive things here. There's improved energy resources and the environment recovers, etc. Okay, so that's our first box. Now we move on to the next box here. That's where we say this box assumes that we took no action and that global climate change concerns were false. So we didn't do anything, but it turns out that we didn't have to. There was no real concern here. There was no real issue, and it turns out that that's okay. So we didn't do anything. We didn't spend money, and everything turned out. So save trillions. The global climate economy and the climate is stable and happy, and everything worked out. So good outcome here. Okay. Then we move to the lower left-hand box. This box assumes that we took action to curb the climate change, and that global climate change concerns were truly a reality. They were validated. So in other words, we did everything that we thought we could or needed to do, and that it turns out that that's a good thing because all these bad things could have happened as a result. Well, what's the future looking like? Well, first of all, yeah, we would have spent trillions of dollars again and probably put ourselves into a recession. But some other things would have happened as well. Overall health should have improved worldwide, better water quality, better air quality, better access to resources. Our energy sources would be in cleaner ways. The environment should recover. people overall should be happier with this outcome. So we should end up kind of, there's definitely downsides here. We have to admit that, but there are also some upsides here that we have to recognize as well. So then moving on to our final box here is where we didn't do anything. And then it turned out that the alarmists were right, that all of these predictions were actually pretty dire. And again, we're kind of taking extreme examples here, but you have to recognize the extremities of these things. You have to say, all right, well, we'll use that scenario and we'll use worst case scenario. So here we're going to talk about some extreme examples. If we didn't take any actions here and the things turned out to be true, then you're going to have all kinds of problems here, that the climate is going to change quite a bit. There's going to be catastrophic weather. There's going to be political unrest, wars over limited resources. It's going to be a mess. So you're going to end up with all of these different things here. Okay. So that's the reality there. All right. Moving along here. The key here is the step that you have to admit that you can't know with 100% certainty whether global climate change is true or false. So you can't really you can't really state with certainty that either this or this is going to occur. So all you know is whether you can act or not. That's the only thing that you're actually in control of. So we need to step back from the whole thing and recognize that we could argue all you want to about the predictions and the models, and yeah, that didn't happen, and this did happen, and that didn't happen. It doesn't matter anymore. We are not in control of the rows. We are in control of the columns, and that's the main idea here. So you have to recognize that. So now this becomes a column thinking problem solving. So we look at our two columns, and like Greg Craven put it, it's like buying a lottery ticket. Which column do you want to gamble on? Which one do you want to invest your gamble into? Which one has the least downside, because all of them have some downsides, or the greatest upside? Some of them have some really great upsides, but some of them have some minimal upsides, but the least downside. So looking at either we do something or we don't, this box down here is clearly the box that we want to avoid. It doesn't take much reason to really realize that that is the box of biggest problems. And so if we want to avoid that downside, our only option is to act. Whether we agree with the climate scientists or whether we don't agree, the action is clear. And so that's how you would go about problem solving with this and really settling kind of the argument on climate change. It's been very effective for me in my personal life to work with people and to talk to people about that and to put it in this perspective, because it does recognize, hey, you might be right. Maybe this whole thing is just fake. Maybe the whole thing doesn't work out. But our actions is what we can control. Okay? So there's our choice. That's the one that's the clear choice. And then some takeaways and final thoughts here. The biggest value of the matrix is that, again, it removes whether or not you're right or you're wrong, whether somebody's valid or not. We stop arguing about all that stupid stuff. We recognize that you have two options of action. You're not going to argue about right and wrong. You're just going to say, well, you can either do something about it or you don't. The true, false, yes, and no choices on the matrix can be used for almost any decision-making matrix. So this quarantine stuff with COVID and however you might feel about that. Is the data correct? Is it not correct? You stop that argument and you just think about, what am I in control of? I'm in control of my actions. And then what are some possible outcomes based on my actions? You can do it for something stupid, like should I sneak out and spend time with my friends, etc. I've used it on numerous personal and professional occasions. I've used it for career decisions, school decisions, etc. It's been a very, very helpful tool to help me remove all the emotional toil and problems of getting into an argument with somebody and really say, all right, I'm in charge of my actions, and then what are the possible outcomes? So as in life, reason should dictate that you should minimize your risk and optimize your reward, and that's got to be the clear decision to make. And so your job now is going to be to create your own matrix off of this thing. So make an action matrix, choose your own topic, do whatever you want to do. Make it about your own research that you did on your resource. Make it about an environmental issue, about like mining in northern Minnesota. Make it about a personal issue, some kind of family issue or whatever. You're going to have the ability then to really think critically and work this thing out and come up with maybe your best option there. So that's it. Hope you guys have a good time, and I'll hopefully be talking to you next Monday.